Hello, it's Penny Shelton, and this is another episode of Foodie Friday. I have two awesome recipes that I'm going to make for you today. The first one you can find in my book, Raw Food Cleanse, and it is for butternut squash spaghetti. And then I'm also going to be making one of my favorite desserts from Cafe Gratitude. I Am Dedicated is the name of the recipe, and it is basically a Living Foods coconut cream pie. I can't even tell you. It's just so good. You have to make it. Let me show you the ingredients that I put together for the butternut squash recipe. I was able to find this really nice shaped butternut squash. Normally you've got a bigger ball on the end, but this one, once we peel it and we run it through the spiruli, it's just going to make making the noodles so much easier, this shape. Okay, this will be tossed in a pesto made of sage, olive oil, raw Parmesan cheese, which is basically just blended, soaked pine nuts and nutritional yeast and a little bit of salt. Instead of pecans, which is what my recipe calls for, I'm using and substituting pistachio nuts. That just sounded good to me today. And then there'll be a little bit of garlic in this. We have successfully spiralized the butternut squash. And isn't that just so beautiful? It just kind of cascades down from the spiral slicer. What I will do with this now, to soften it up a bit, I will toss it in a drizzling of olive oil and salt and pepper and let that just sit while I put all the other ingredients together. Probably 15 minutes, I would think. If you have a dehydrator, that works really well. You can warm it up a bit that way if you'd like, but probably just for the sake of time, I won't do that. I'll just have it raw, but it's just beautiful. Now, what I've done over here is I have put the ingredients into my food processor. You know, you could use a mini prep. You could certainly use your blender to make this sage pesto. One thing I wanted to say on the sage, if you can't get fresh sage, you can certainly add a different kind of green. I have used spinach and then added just a little bit of sage. But what we're wanting to try to do is to get the flavor of sage somehow infused into this dish, because sage and butternut squash, for whatever reason, just go really well together. So I'm going to whip this up into a pesto, and we'll see the finished product in just a bit. While our butternut squash is just sitting and resting in a tossed combination of olive oil, sea salt, and freshly cracked pepper, I also have, this is the pesto that I have made that's going to actually go on the butternut squash as a finished product, but you know, just allowing it to sit for a little bit and let those flavors marry together is probably the best thing that you can do. This is a thicker pesto. You can certainly add more olive oil to make it looser if that's the way that you like it. This recipe also does not call for salt or lemon juice, which a lot of pestos call for. I went ahead and added about 2 teaspoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice to that, just because I like that flavor. And then there is enough salt in the pasta because it's softening up the pasta. It's drawing the moisture out. And so I really don't feel like this recipe needs any more salt, but that's going to just really be up to you. And you can find this recipe in Raw Food Cleanse. Now, while I've been doing this and letting this set, I have actually come over here and I've greased, I can't say that right, greased a pie plate with coconut butter. And I have blended in my food processor the crust. And I'm going to be pressing this crust down into the pie plate to make the base of my coconut cream pie. This is so simple. It's just shredded coconut with blended dates, a tiny bit of sea salt, and a little bit of vanilla. And we're going to create a crust next. Now that we have the crust pressed into the prepared pie pan, we have started making the filling for the coconut cream pie. And I wanted to show you, the recipe calls for coconut milk, not just coconut water. And the way that we've done that is I've just taken the insides of 2 young Thai coconuts, poured the water, and scraped out the meat. And I have added it and blended it in my Vitamix. And this is how I strain. I wanted to show you what I use. I use a mesh strainer. I don't use a nut milk bag. I just am not into nut milk bags. I don't know, it's just a personal thing. So I will strain this, and we will now have coconut milk. Very exciting. Just one of the ingredients that is in the living coconut cream pie. Yum. I am so excited to eat this meal. I can't even tell you. I just made the filling for the coconut cream pie, and I've gone ahead and poured it into my prepared pie crust. And what I will do is just sort of finish that off with a dusting of coconut flakes. They're not the real shredded coconut, but they're a little bit larger. You can see coconut flakes. So we'll just cover the cake, or the pie, I should say, with that. And then I'll probably put that into the freezer for about an hour or so before it's really good and set up. It can certainly stay in the freezer. You can also keep it in your refrigerator as well, because it does have coconut butter in the filling. So if it stays cold, it's going to really create a nice, thick, dense filling that's just so delicious. And then here is the finished product: butternut squash spaghetti with pesto, which is sage and pistachio pesto. And you can find that wonderful recipe in Raw Food Cleanse. And then you can find the recipe for the coconut cream pie in the book I Am Grateful by Cafe Gratitude. We also have the recipe for the pie in our recipe section at Raw Food Rehab. So you can log in there to the kitchen and go to desserts under the index, and you can find, I think it's right on the front page actually, for this coconut cream pie. So I'm not going to hang out with you guys too much longer because I'm ready for lunch. I'm starved. Thanks for watching another episode of Foodie Friday. And as always, I'll have the links and the recipes listed underneath this video on our website. See you next time.